Well, very noisy. It's the steps of the Victorian Parliament House. Built in 1855, 56, 57, 58. It looks like they never completed construction. They keep renovating. You can see the new things. But you see over here, these are magic steps. This is hashtag steps to a home. Look at these steps. Look at these beautiful steps. Look at this. Do you know that this could lead to a home for every Victorian, every Australian? Well, actually, Victorians at the minute. Because these steps lead to the Legislative Assembly and the Legislative Council, and every state and territory has a parliament in this country. New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, West Australia, the ACT, Northern Territory, Tasmania. They've all got a parliament, and even Queensland. I keep forgetting they have a parliament too. So these steps are magic. They can give you a home. Unfortunately, there's a problem. There are Grinches in that building. The members of the Christmas Grinches. The members of the Legislative Assembly and the Legislative Council. Now, the Labor Party has held power for 16 of the last 20 years in Victoria, and its great contribution has been the destruction of public housing as a mechanism by which people have secure, affordable housing. It's hard to believe that the Labor Party, which has turned its back on people. Now, housing and public housing is not just a homeless issue, and it's not just an issue of people on the waiting list. When public housing was first introduced in Victoria in the 1950s, it was introduced because of pressure by returned servicemen and women who were living in tents on the pitch at the MCG in the Botanical Gardens, for people who could not afford to buy a house to have access to secure housing. Now, secure housing is not just a matter of having a roof over your head. What secure housing does is it allows your children and grandchildren to live in the same community. It allows them to go to the same schools. It allows them to have the same friends. It allows them to belong to the same community groups and the same sporting organisations. People who rent in this country, over 40% of the population, and people who find themselves homeless or couch surfing, and their families do not have that luxury. They do not have security in terms of a roof over their heads. So they're not in a position, unless they've got private transport, and even then it's very expensive, to put down roots in the community. So public housing is everybody's business. It's your business, it's my business. It's your business if you're an investor and you negatively gear property. It's your business if you rent. It's your business if you're homeless. It's your business if you're couch surfing. It's your business if you own your own home, and it's your business if you're paying off a mortgage. And the great tragedy about being an Australian over the last 20 years is that dream of being able to have housing security is dissipated. 30 to 40 years ago, one member of a family working for 7 to 10 years could, in most cases, actually buy a home outright within those 10 years. Today, we have intergenerational mortgages because housing is now a commodity. It's been opened up to the housing market, opened up to the investment market. And there are laws in place at a federal and state level which give people who own more than one house advantages. And the tragedy is that when the Australian people have the opportunity to curb negative gearing, they decided that it wasn't for them. They decided to allow people who own more than one house to continue to receive a tax deduction legally by negatively gearing their properties. So what's the issue? Well, we have a problem across the country, not just in Victoria, but we have a major problem. And the peak of the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg, is the homeless crisis. And we have open homelessness when you see people on the streets, and we have hidden homelessness. And for every person you're on the street, you've got another 10 to 15 couch surfing or living out of cars. The other issue is that an increasing number of Australians, especially younger men and women, are not able to actually enter a private housing market which is dominated by investors, where investors are now buying 40 to 50% of every house that is for sale or for mortgage because of the negative gearing advantages. So in Victoria, the Victorian government made a calculated gamble which worked very well. And the gamble was, let's put billions of dollars of taxpayers' money into infrastructure, into roads, tunnels, public transport, and let's ignore the housing crisis. Because while people think that public housing is an issue for people who are homeless or people on the waiting list, it will never be an issue. And what we want to do in public housing, everybody's business, is change that equation. We want to be part of an earthquake which changes the focus of the 88 members of the Legislative Assembly and the 40 members of the Legislative Council to deal with the housing issue. When I heard the Premier, Mr Andrews, a Labor Premier, 2 weeks ago, crow about how they were going to spend $203 million on public housing over 4 years to create 250 new public housing units while they're privatising the rest of the public housing sector and allowing the social and community housing sector to dominate that marketplace. I knew that the Labor Party has made a calculated gamble. While public housing is a homeless issue, while it's for people in emergency situations, they know the Victorian population does not care. Now that's a tram in the background. You're listening to this somewhere overseas. We have the largest tram network in the world in Melbourne. So, what's public housing? Everybody's business all about. We want to create a climate where public housing becomes an issue which affects everyone, and I'll explain how it affects everyone. If you're homeless, obviously you're not able to rent in the open marketplace for a variety of reasons or buy a home. And obviously, of all people who need secure, stable, affordable accommodation, it's people who are homeless. If you're couch surfing, you're in the same position, because sooner or later your family and friends will get sick of you and you will find yourself homeless. If you rent and you're paying 30, 40, 50% of your income, especially if you're on a social security benefit, to rent a room here or a house there that's falling apart, and you'll never be able to buy a home, and you'll be in unstable accommodation where you can be evicted at any time by giving 120 days notice for no reason whatsoever, where repairs aren't carried out, where your children can't attend the same schools, well, you know that you've got an issue. If you're paying a mortgage, irrespective of how low interest rates are today, because people are geared heavily, which means they've borrowed a lot to be in a home, if interest rates go up, not down, and they will eventually go up, there'll be tens of thousands of people in Australia who will find themselves facing foreclosure and homelessness, or having to move into the rental market. If you're young, you'll never be able to raise the deposit for a house, especially if you're in hospitality and in many jobs that are casualised, low pay, cash in hand. No bank will ever lend to you, and if they did, you wouldn't get the amount of money you require to actually buy a house. If you are paying a mortgage and you're paying 30, 40, 50% of your money on that mortgage, you're paying 700, 800 times what that mortgage was when you took it out 30 years ago, you've got a major issue. If you're an investor, you also have an issue, because although you are receiving negative gearing benefits and you're making a quid, the reality is there's homelessness increases and insecurity increases, there is increased social dislocation, which is a fancy word for increasing violence in the community, increasing anxiety, increasing health-related issues, increasing homelessness, increasing crime, increasing prison rates, increasing despair, increasing suicide. Because housing is central to the situation we find ourselves in. So what do we propose? What is public housing, everybody's business, all about? Well, we were formed in December 2016. We were formed as a group, a Victorian group. And we have been pressuring governments, both Liberal National and now the Labor Party, to actually look at public housing seriously. And we have a very simple slogan. This state raises between $5 to $7 billion a year from stamp duty on real estate. Stamp duty is a tax that you pay if you buy a unit or a home. It's a tax you pay to the government for the privilege of buying real estate. Currently in Victoria and the rest of Australia, stamp duty revenue is used to pay for other things like roads and tunnels. Why shouldn't a tax on real estate not be quarantined to provide public housing? If the stamp duty revenue in Victoria was diverted to public housing, you would resolve the homeless crisis in 1 month. You could house everybody, the 100,000 plus people on the waiting list, in 1 year, and you could actually house 1 million Victorians in public housing within a decade. But what it means is that public pressure is required. Now, how does it benefit you if you're a renter? Well, if investors are forced out of the market because the public housing stock increases through building or spot purchasing in regional areas and suburbs. Spot purchasing is a fancy word for the government buying homes that are already established that are for sale and putting people who require public housing in. That's spot purchasing. You can spot purchase 10,000 homes tomorrow. You can house them, everybody on the waiting list within a year. You don't actually have to build new homes. If the public housing stock increases, yes, they're working on the building here. Since 1854, they've been working on the Victorian Parliament House. It is being refurbished. It's nice to see that the members of the Legislative Assembly and the Legislative Council will have very nice, clean buildings and digs to go to. I always feel their representatives deserve the very best because they're going to do the very best for us, because these steps are the steps to a home.
My name's Joseph Toscano. I'm the convener of the Public Housing Everybody's Business campaign, which we're conducting to promote the idea of public housing. We would like to see real estate stamp duty revenue, $7 billion per year in Victoria, quarantined for public housing. Join us for the winter Solstice Public Housing Festival here on the steps of the Victorian Parliament House, midnight to midnight on Friday the 21st of June. Bring your families, bring your great art, bring your musical instruments, bring food, bring blankets, bring yourself. Let's put public housing back on the political, social and cultural agenda in this state and in this country. Join us 21st of June, midnight to midnight Friday. Midnight to midnight. 24 hours of fun festivities. And if you've got a musical instrument, bring it along. The more the merrier. And if you want to come dressed as a wizard or a witch or a goth, it's the winter solstice, you're welcome.